I've got a bunch of parts here which I need to face to length and then either drill or tap them, or some of them will have the ends rounded over, but yes, 60 odd pieces altogether. So to help me do that, I'm going to put the backstop in the lathe spindle. And this is the backstop that came with the lathe when I bought it. I presume it's not a Colchester part. I think somebody's made this, previous owner. I think it's basically a 1-inch diameter bar, threaded at the end, which allows you to put extension pieces which are made of, I think that's 10mm threaded rod, with some joining pieces for whatever length you want to try and get to. And there's a plastic bush here which ensures it's a nice fit in the spindle and doesn't rattle around. And then another piece at this end which actually goes into the end of the spindle. It's a bit hard to see with this light here, but there are 3 holes drilled in the spindle here, and they are so that, I'm just lining this up. I think the holes are not quite evenly spaced, so there's a mark here and there so that you only put this in one position, and then we just drop some bolts in there. Just 10mm bolts, full set screws, and then the bar in the middle can be adjusted and locked in with these little grub screws here. And then of course we've got this piece on the end can be adjusted too. Set. I'm always very cautious about tapping holes in stainless steel, even though this is 303 and it actually machines quite nice. Tapping into a blind hole, I'm not brave enough to do it totally powered, so we'll start it off and then wind it in by hand and hope that we don't snap a tap. The next one in, up to the stop, and away we go again. For some reason the tap sometimes winds in a lot smoother than other times. Don't know if there's some variation in the bar, or maybe it's just sometimes there's a bit of swell from the drilling left behind before the tap goes in, or a little bit of swell on the tap from the previous hole. But yeah, that went in really nice and smooth. And so on and so forth. This is a backstop for our old Colchester student, which I just thought I'd just show you this before the lathe actually gets shipped out of here. So this is just a piece of studding, a threaded rod, kind of a cap screwed onto the end, I think so. I think I made this, but it was years ago and I can't remember the details. But yeah, just the cap on the end of the rod. And at this end, we just have this piece threaded to go on here. Lock nut on the outside, and that will just screw. Yeah, the piece on the other end is to stop it rattling around inside the spindle. So that's a pretty good fit. And I think that's actually through into the chuck. So this was last used for some fairly short pieces. Can we see that in there? But obviously adjustable by just screwing the rod through this piece, and this has just got 3 little grub screws with 3 little dimples around the end of the spindle. I won't put it on, but I think you get the idea. And on this job I've got a backstop held in a collet behind the chuck. So I just lock the spindle, undo the drawbar, which is here, and I have cunningly put, actually I should have done this before I slackened the collet, shouldn't I? It's clever. Okay, let's do it properly. Tighten the drawbar. I just made this piece out of a piece of scrap, and it already had the tapped hole in the middle, and that's proved to be quite handy. Loosen the drawbar again, and pull the stop bar out. This lathe takes collets directly in the spindle. The nose of the spindle's got taper in it. The maximum size of the collets is 3/4 of an inch, which is why this has been turned down to that shape. So small diameter goes in the collet. The large diameter is just a weeny bit smaller than the job that was going in there, which was 1 1/4 inches. Let's see if we take the chuck off, you can see the collets behind it. So old school screw on chuck. Which comes in theory with the risk of unscrewing itself if you switch the spindle into reverse. I've never ever had that happen. Once this is just spun up, it actually locks on quite well. So that's chuck out the way. And there behind it, the collet. And I think these are specific to the Smart and Brown lathes. I don't know what you'd call these, We have a good selection of them, all imperial of course, and this is a 3/4, which is the largest size it'll take. But for a lot of jobs that's really, really handy. We've got another job that I use this piece of tube in there as a backstop, and using the 4-jaw collet we make parts from square stock, and we will put, I don't know, a 1/4 inch rod in a 1/4 inch collet to act as a backstop. Really, really handy. And that is on there pretty good now. You can see how the backstop works. Very consistent depth.